You just never know. You never know who you're going to run into out here. The Kreveks. Praise the Lord and pass the ammunition of godly principles.
Hey, we're having a Christmas party on December 21st. We're inviting all the kids on the whole Christmas route.
Can't beat that at all. Well, God bless you all. Where do they reach you by telephone?
It's on the paper.
On the paper.
815-978-0036.
Yeah. You got it, folks.
Free party sponsored by CEF.
CEF, and that means?
Child Evangelism Fellowship of Northern Kentucky. We're here to serve you.
Great.
All right.
Great night. God bless you. Merry Christmas. Okay. Bye-bye now. God keeps his promises. Christmas party, free for kids, K to 5. Pizza, storybooks, songs, games, and crafts. Tuesday, December the 21st at 5 o'clock, 7:15 p.m. Location, 1800 Declaration Drive, Independence. Grace Fellowship Church next to Kroger's. RSVP required. CEF, Northern Kentucky.com. Events are call Chauncey's Evangelism Fellowship, Northern Kentucky Chapter, 859-667-4599. There you go, folks. That's who just dropped by. Great people. Love to help them out. Why I love policemen. They're so good with families and kids. They love them, and they protect them, and they are first responders. Policemen need our respect completely. And this policeman is not, he's not even, I can't say enough kind words about him. He just is a gentleman and loves people. One of Independent's finest, and they have some of the finest. A fine chief, a fine city manager, and a fine mayor, and all the police officers. Red dot.
Yep.
And
you guys haven't stopped in the yoga shop, they've got their own little craft section going on. Some pretty cool stuff in there. There might be some wine upstairs. It's in the yoga studio. Check it out. If you're just joining us, welcome to the 25th
a dream he chased 3 times. He made his concession speech in Russell, Kansas, to the people who had known him since his birth there in 1923. World War II took Dole from Kansas to Italy, and just before the end of the war, Nazi machine gun fire shattered his upper body and destroyed his right shoulder.
It was about 11 months, I think, before I could feed myself. I think I could have done it, Frank, to be very honest about it, probably at 8 months, but the nurses were very attractive.
After his recuperation, Russell elected Dole to 4 terms as county prosecutor, and in 1961, its voters sent him to the House of Representatives and re-elected him there 4 times. In 1968, Dole ran for Senate and won, spending the next 3 decades in the U.S. Senate. He became the Senate Majority Leader in 1984. With an acerbic and often self-deprecating wit, he established himself as a tireless power broker, pragmatic and able to work out compromises with Democrats. In 1976, presidential candidate Gerald Ford had selected Dole as his running mate. After their defeat, Dole sought his own nomination for president unsuccessfully in 1980 and 1988. But in 1996, he decided to try again. He resigned his Senate seat and post as majority leader to focus on the campaign.
The new season before me makes this moment far less the closing of one chapter than the opening of another.
Finally, in 1996, Dole won the Republican nomination.
I accept your nomination to lead our party once again to the presidency of the United States.
On the campaign trail,
I'll win today, Senator. I'll win. Looking good.
73-year-old Dole's boundless energy overshadowed his age.
I think I have my strengths. I think the best thing going for Bob Dole is that Bob Dole keeps his word.
Ultimately, though, Americans chose to re-elect Bill Clinton.
I'm out of work. I watch the Senate a lot.
He spent his time helping his wife Elizabeth win a Senate race and accepting an appointment from President George W. Bush to co-chair a commission on problems at a military hospital.
Senator Dole, who is himself a veteran and a wounded veteran at that, former distinguished senator, a man who knows Washington well, but more importantly knows the kind of questions to ask.
He continued to push for answers on Capitol Hill as well, traveling there in support of legislation for disabled veterans.
Just the right thing to do.
One trip back to the Capitol was much tougher for him to make. In 2012, Dole entered the Capitol Rotunda to visit the casket of his friend, colleague, and fellow World War II veteran, Senator Daniel Inouye of Hawaii, as he laid in state. The pair met while recovering from combat injuries during World War II. They had both been sent to the same hospital in Michigan after suffering injuries from Nazi gunfire in Italy. There, Dole convinced Inouye to go into politics after the loss of his arm dashed his dream of becoming a surgeon. And Inouye did, making it to Washington as a Hawaii representative in 1959. 7 months later, Dole made it to the Capitol himself. A wheelchair-bound Dole needed the help of his wife Elizabeth and an aide to take the steps on his own feet. Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid of Nevada later said Dole told him he wasn't going to let Inouye see me in my wheelchair. At 95 years old, he returned to the Capitol Rotunda again, standing from his wheelchair to salute another fellow soldier from the greatest generation, the 41st President of the United States, George H.W. Bush, a longtime friend. That determination is how Senator Dole earned respect from both sides of the aisle.
We're also proud to be joined by a true American patriot, a World War II veteran, one of the finest public servants America's ever known, Senator Bob Dole.
In early 2021, Dole shared that he had been diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. Days later, he was visited by newly inaugurated President Joe Biden at his Watergate apartment. The two had a bipartisan friendship and served in the Senate together for almost 25 years. Months before his cancer announcement, Dole spoke remotely to the National Press Club about reaching across the aisle and his hopes for America.
And I had a great ride. I mean, I made so many friends, Democrats and Republicans. And when I was the leader, I reached across the aisle a lot because I believe that most controversies could be settled with a little time and a little compromise. I believe God has a plan for all of us. And stuff with God, no whatever happens to me, I'm 97, but I still have all my marbles, and that helps. But I think we have a bright future.
In Washington, Brett Baer, Fox News.
Bob Dole was a Republican giant. Your reflections and thoughts, sir, about him?
Well, I think part of what made Dole unique in this city is that he really never fully left Russell, Kansas. He was deeply a Kansan, deeply a person of small towns, a person where your word was good because you want to live near your neighbors. He was also a product of World War II. He and I shared a mutual admiration for President Eisenhower, formerly General Eisenhower, that went very, very deep because of the very characteristics that Dole personified: honesty, hard work, telling the truth, sound judgment. And I think that Dole, in many ways, would have seen himself as being like Eisenhower and being a patriot long before he was a Republican. And I think that was a deep part of who he was. He was also very gregarious in a small town kind of way. I mean, it doesn't surprise me at all that he and Inouye got along well and that he actually influenced Inouye to run for office. Dole was very smart. He was also unbelievably hardworking. I campaigned with him in 1996 when he was running for president. I was amazed. Here was a guy who had been so badly injured in World War II that he literally could not put his shirt on by himself. And yet he had disciplined himself. He had risen above his challenges. He could work the rest of us into the ground. He loved politics. And he told me one time one of his favorite things was to go to fundraisers and just chat with people and be there. Well, that's a pretty powerful strength if you had decided you want to make your career in politics. I think he'll be missed. He's a wonderful role model for the kind of political statesman that has historically rescued America in its most difficult periods.
And it is, Mr. Speaker, that personal story of overcoming that horrendous wound when the Nazi Italian shell, shattered part of his back and his arm. As you know, he would hold a pen in his arm like this. He was paralyzed. Most people didn't know it. And he would shake your hand this way. He would kind of give you an upside down handshake. Tell me about the determination, the grit, the courage, the refusal to give up that saw him through near death to run for president of the United States in his amazing career that spanned decades.
Well, and to run for president 4 times. I mean, he represented cheerful persistence as much as anybody that Calista and I have ever met. And we would go to his birthday parties at the Watergate in his later years. Elizabeth was unbelievably important in his life. The two of them were great hosts. And so many people would show up. You'd have a long line waiting to chat with him, and he would talk with every single person. He knew everybody who'd come by for his birthday, whether they were an elected official, a staff person, a news person, a lobbyist. And you saw sort of the Dole world coming back together. And I think all across America, there are people today who will miss him, who think back very fondly to what a remarkable human being he was.
Yeah, that is for sure. And finally, Mr. Speaker, the sense of reaching across the aisle. Of course, you folks are in the arena, as former President Richard Nixon would say. But he had friends who were Democrats. Daniel Inouye was a Democrat, and he urged him to run. As we have learned, do you think that could be a lasting legacy of Mr. Dole to reach beyond the aisle, to cement the friendships between politicians of opposite parties the way he did and was beloved and liked by so many?
Now, look, I think that it's very important to remember that at its best, politics is a very human business. And I want to go back to Russell, Kansas. People who grew up in small towns learn, I think, and my wife Lucy grew up in an even smaller town than Russell, and they learned that you have to be nice to everybody because they're still there. And so Dole came out of a natural small town background, and his instinct, I can't overemphasize this, not only was he smart, hardworking, courageous, he had a natural, he liked people, and he brought to politics the best of those kind of attitudes. He was a patriot, but he was also a people person. And if you could find a few more folks like that, you could unlock a lot of the current problems.
That is for sure. Former House Speaker Newt Gingrich, thank you. Thank you for your service, and thank you for your thoughts.
We need more
Bob
men
Dole, of
like
course.
Bob Dole,
of course.
with
Of course,
godly
our
principles.
Fox News, our thoughts and prayers are with the Dole family, with his wife, former cabinet member and Senator Elizabeth Dole on remembering Bob Dole.